I live on a Native American reservation in western New York with a lot of people who have experienced many different encounters with spirits of sorts. Most of the reservation is surrounded by woods and roads with little to no homes or abandoned trailers. I was sitting in my room and it was about 1 in the morning and I was feeling pretty brave and bored this night, so I decided to walk to the water tower, which was somewhat close to my house. I was about halfway to the water tower when I heard something eating something and walking in a small circle with a rotting smell. I thought it was just a coyote because there's a lot around where I live. I continued walking, and when I reached the entrance to the dirt path leading to the water tower, I stopped when a wave of fear and discomfort hits me. I brush it off thinking it's just because it's late and I'm outside. As I get to the water tower, I hear something approach me. When I look a little closer and the light from the water tower shines on the figure, I see a withering sick deer that looked like it was limping. I step back a little, shocked from what I'm seeing. I slightly glance toward the side and I hear bones cracking coming from the sick deer, and it stands on its hind legs and lets out a sickly wheeze. I then book it back to my house while hearing it run towards me, sort of yelping and wheezing in an agony. From all the adrenaline buildup, I ended up running faster than I've ever imagined and made it home safely. To this day, I never walk to any place more than 5 minutes away at night. One day, I just couldn't sleep for the life of me, and I found myself up at 2 a.m. staring out of my window. And for reference, across my window is a fairly busy road, and then it's just forests. As I'm staring out my window, I spotted a few deer crossing the road from my window, so I got up and went to a different window to go look at them. As I'm watching this deer, I watch as one walks slowly across the street, and by slowly, I mean slow. As soon as it gets to the forest, it stops and just stands there, and I'm struck with a sort of paralyzing fear, and that's when the deer began to walk normally into the forest, but not before I catch a glimpse of a figure that seems to be 7 to 8 feet tall with a bony looking face. And keep in mind, I'm a good 40 feet away from the whole ordeal, and as I see this figure disappear, I'm stuck standing there, petrified. It took a good 30 to 40 seconds for me to be able to move again, and after that, I got back to bed. I slept like a rock. I might have just been tired, but I swear that's what I saw. When I was a kid, there was a golf course behind my backyard gate, and sometimes coyotes are spotted in the area in packs. I remember waking up one night because I heard something bang in my backyard. I opened my blinds to look out and see nothing at all but a group of coyotes. I don't think much of it and go back into my bed. That's when I heard loud rustling like multiple animals were running around, so at this point I was fed up with it. I grab my flashlight and turn it on, hoping I can at least get them out of my backyard. I see the pack run away by slipping through the gates. But the thing that scared the hell out of me that night was what I caught a glimpse of. As I turn my flashlight off, I quickly see a thing I can't even describe it. It looked skinny, human, hunched over in all fours, but it kind of resembled a large dog. I don't think much of it at the time because I was 10 and I was pretty tired, but in the morning as I let my dog out, I see a bright red spot in the backyard, right where I saw it. I know it sounds fake, but I know what I saw. I can still feel like it's watching me. This happened to me 8 years ago, but surely something I will always remember. My grandfather had made it clear that I should never talk about it, but I feel like I won't ever let go of it if I don't share it. So anyways, I was 11 at the time. It was summer, and usually we visit our vacation house, which I'd say is pretty secluded. We don't have any close neighbors, and the house is literally in the middle of the woods. I never disliked going there, as it's close to a river with a waterfall, which by the way, looks straight up from the Garden of Eve. My parents let me stay in the house with my grandpa as my mom and dad had a business trip, but I remember them promising they'll follow as soon as they get back from the trip. My grandpa picked me up at around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The drive was around 3 hours. Evening arrived and we're just halfway through. Because of a major car crash, we were stuck in the traffic for a long time. We almost finished 10 radio dramas while waiting through the traffic. We were finally driving up the mountains, which means we're close home. But the road is insanely dark and covered in trees. There are some parts of the road where it looked like we're driving through tunnels, as the tree branches were covering the sky. Then a loud thud broke the silence between the two of us. My grandpa had hit a big rock that was sitting in the middle of the road, like someone intentionally put it there to cause inconvenience. This caused the car to smoke, and it turns out that our clutch overheated. My grandpa decided that we'd spend the night in the car, as he was very tired and he's not very good at driving in the dark. I was also really tired, so I was ready to fall asleep. My grandpa said that he would get his pillows and flashlight at the compartment of the car. I was listening to him move and arrange our stuff, and then I fell asleep. I wasn't sure how long have I been sleeping, but I got woken up from a sound of scratching under the car, like someone has a rock and was writing something under the car. I was 100% sure that I'm going to forget it and just sleep in. But as I was wandering my eyes, I saw a one small dash of light in this dark ass road. It was my grandpa facing a tree, pointing his flashlight in the total black of nothingness. I thought he also heard that scratching sound and he was looking for it. I was about to get out of the car and call him in because I was scared shitless. But suddenly I noticed that his neck is unusually long and has a patch of hair running through his whole neck. I knew something fucked up was going on, so I started observing and looking around the car. I panicked, and there I see my grandpa, covered in blankets, sleeping at the back of the car. I quickly woke him up and told him what I saw. He quickly dismissed it, saying that maybe I was just dreaming or something. But I knew he was also scared from what I just told him, and he tried to stay calm so I wouldn't panic. Just a few minutes later, the scratches were back and it got louder. And there were also thudding under the car, like someone is smashing their hands under the car. I was panicking, my eyes were filled with tears, where my vision were all blurry and my head hurting from all the anxiety. My grandpa heard all of it. This time he was awake and more alert. He said there might be squirrels or rabbits under the car, and he'll go check it, which I quickly opposed as I seen this stuff on horror movies and it never goes well. And I was also so scared to be left in the car just for a second. As soon as he opened the door, the flashlight from the outside was lit once again. I was so scared. It was laying on the floor. The light was facing our car. Then I heard the scariest sound I've ever heard in my life. It was my mom's voice singing, but we both knew that whatever that thing is, it wasn't my mom. The voice sounded disgusting and distorted. The voice was stringy and it sounds like it was pretending and trying to imitate human language. The voice lasted for 1 minute and the last part sounded so terrifying as it sounded like it's shrieking from pain but almost like laughing at the same time. He closed the door, locked all of it, and sat in the driver's seat. He was shaking. We shared an eye contact. He was so pale and looked so freaking terrified. We were both sitting in pure fear and silence as the radio signal isn't that clear around that area. That night we drove back home and always told me to forget everything that happened and pray every night.